it's meant to choose, feels like there's nothing left for me to lose. I'll take my break. How many times I've gotta tell you I'm all caught up in bad advice? So many times I've had to hear you say, you know what you gotta do. I used to hang on to words that make my sting if you stung me first, but I passed upon a needing you to understand my views. It gets lonely, but I've learned by now there's more emptiness in the smiles you're forced to wear. I dig my grave if it's not to choose. Feels like there's nothing left for me.
We're exactly on time. All right. I never wear this, but I'm doing a little experiment tonight before my daughter goes to bed. So she's never seen me in a mask. Viral moment potentially. Okay. So let's see her reaction. We're going to talk about facial recognition tonight. Let's bring in a baby because I seen her reaction earlier. So let's see if I can get a similar one. She hasn't really seen me with this on.
You look like an antifa.
Yeah, bro. You like what you see?
Hi, baby.
No, she's tired. She's looking at mom. She don't like this. Hey, baby girl. Hey. Addie. Baby girl. Hey. Hey. Want to look at dad? Baby girl. What you looking at? Hey. Hey. Addie. Addison. You too tired for this? We got nothing, eh?
I feel
okay.
For her.
Anyways, I'll hand her off. We basically, oh no. So I was doing that earlier. She's literally ready for bed, which is why I don't think I got any reaction out of her, but I'll tell you what she was doing earlier when I did it. So we were looking into, oh man, that's freaking gross. We were looking into facial recognition and infant development today, or at least I was. And it's clear that they need to see the mouth in this area of the face. And what my daughter did when I put it on earlier is she actually was looking down and then she looked up and then she looked down at the mouth. Then she looked up in my eyes and like you can tell she can recognize it's dad's eyes, but she was struggling with it. And one of the things that the literature we'll go into tonight actually talks about is that they need to see that. So they swapped out in a test. They would have a mom's face upright and then they would swap out the mouth from a different mother, and the baby could still determine this, but basically it took a long time, a lot longer. So diapers are not good for the face. Ask the little one. Yeah, you know what's gross about that is I have fabric come off like while I was wearing that for the short amount of time I was, and I could taste it. Can you imagine wearing that crap all day? Wow. Anyways, we're gonna have to talk for a little bit because we have a baby's bum being changed in the background. And a little bit of time before she's ready. But I got something anyways. I want to talk about fiat money. Okay. So fiat money leads to inflation. Now, in the original Constitution draft, they actually had emit bills of credit from the original draft. They wanted sound metal money. They wanted sound metal money, pure and simple. And so they actually emitted the term from the first constitutional draft, emit bills of credit, because they knew and were concerned about fiat money over time, because they left tyranny from England and the fiat money, and it was bad. And they understood this well. They said, no, we want real money, real metals to back our currency. So Jefferson and Madison were able to convince America to get rid of the first bank of the United States in 1811, mainly because they had created an era of massive inflation in the 1790s. So just 21 years later, they implemented a federal bank in 1790s, and it had caused such bad inflation that by 1811 it was abolished. So the people were very defensive about this concept being pushed again. President Jefferson also paid off the national debt, balanced the budget, and reduced both spending taxes. Unfortunately, Congress chartered the Second National Bank in 1816. Andrew Jackson later helped get rid of the Second National Bank, balance the budget, and pay off the national debt, as Jefferson and Madison had worked to accomplish earlier. This battle between limited government, balanced budgets, and economic frugality, on one hand versus big government, printing more money, using inflationary debt to pay for government programs, and constantly increasing government spending on the other hand, has raged throughout America's history, and I would say throughout the world's history. Each time the frugal philosophy has won for a while, it has been followed by a return of big spending. By the time the Civil War, there were thousands of banks issuing thousands of different kinds of banknotes. The currency had gone so upside down that there was currencies everywhere, and people were counterfeiting like crazy as well. Furthermore, many banks were issuing far more notes than they had reserves. So the way fractional reserve banking works is you're supposed to have for every, $1,000 or $10,000 you lend. I'm not sure the standard anymore because it's not much of a standard at all. But basically, you have to have one physical dollar for those thousands and thousands of dollars that you're going to put out there. Now, the issue is if they go, they take a loan and they give out 1,000. Well, now they've said, well, we've gotten rid of that money, so it's not part of the bank anymore, so we can actually loan more. So this is this convoluted freaking scheme they've developed. But Oliver DeMille, 1913, read the book on the Federal Reserve's founding. It's great. You'll understand it. You'll understand how fiat money is going to be the country's downfall. Okay, they had reserves so that not everyone could trade in their paper currency for gold or silver. So they were told you can't trade this in for gold or silver. And this was a big deal at the time. Nowadays, people don't even care about that. But you're supposed to be able to trade in your physical dollars for silver or gold back in the day. Now, we're no longer on the gold standard, so that's not the case. There was also a tremendous amount of counterfeiting. Before long, the whole system began to falter. When the Civil War required vast new expenditures, Congress felt compelled to issue fiat money. Well, we can just print it. No problem. These greenbacks could not be redeemed, though, in gold or silver, and were limited somewhat in the things in which they could be spent, and soon their value dropped to around 35 cents. Finally, in 1878, Congress promised to redeem the greenbacks in gold. Think human psychology here as I call out this next part, okay? This changed the greenbacks from cheap fiat money to debt money or bills of credit, meaning they were redeemable at face value for gold or silver. At first, there was a run on gold as people traded in their greenbacks. But when they found that they really could get gold, then people didn't want it. They returned their gold to the bank and took back paper money instead. This left the United States on the gold standard until 1933 when they shucked it all together. Man, that's the parallels of history, right? History doesn't repeat, it echoes. There's an example of a hard echo. So, welcome. How's it going? Let's go into, I got something tonight on corruption. Kaylin, you ready? There's a rookie over here. She's off in La La Land tonight. She thinks it's Friday. She's partying.
I always love seeing that "Hey Patriots" in the comments.
Yeah, it's good. It's a feel good. Is this not the one I wanted? Hey, where's the... Oh, don't be like that. That's not the one. CCH, Hamilton employee corruption, 87 reports. So let's see if I can find it. I'm not going to be able to find it. Maybe if I go into brother's message here. Broderick, you want to go to your video here? I'm going to pull up something for everyone because I think it's actually important.
The roadblock aids. Just give me a second. I gotta do the specific. Wait.
Okay, CHCH. Here we go. We'll see who gets there first. No.
I gotta get them back on this. So, has anybody here heard about the Caledonia blockades?
Blockades?
6.
I heard
Okay, so
recently
they're
some dude
escalating.
threw feces he threw feces on these feces and urine on the police officers there that were at the blockade.
Oh yeah, on the vehicles. They threw stones and other stuff with the police cruisers. They had pictures of these individuals on Twitter. Yeah, they today they were digging up the road and burning tires, and they recently, just this afternoon, flipped a destroyed bus onto the road and blocked the road just by Canadian Tire in Caledonia. I believe it's really close to where my friend Hunter lives up there.
Can you pull up Jaswaz's
But
comments?
I'll,
He's getting can't. Oh, Restream's a little bit different. Okay, so another dude is pretty aggressive. Jaswaz's talking about going out and protesting in his own way again. Sorry. So they flipped the bus. They were throwing feces on police officers there. What is their demands? That's the thing.
It's been going on for months. They basically made a land claim. Like it's happening all over Canada. But
this is part
it's
of
a land claim in regards to a construction site that's on native land they claim. And this is what the result has been: is this road being closed on and off for months now. But I have a clip from the mayor of Caledonia, which I found really interesting. So I'll play that.
All right. It's no sound project. You got to stop doing this, man.
Oh, damn
it. He has one job and he keeps forgetting to do it before the show so that he can bring this to you.
No,
so
I can't like literally when I do this, I have to click the tab and then I have to hit share audio and then
it's so hard. So many things.
Okay, we're back. Let's do this again.
Okay, go.
Take two.
The mayor of Halton County says he's on board with the premier and also wants the federal government to step.
The backdrop of what's been said for the last 6 months, 90 days, that this is a peaceful protest. Well, I think you can see this is not peaceful.
Damage by the demonstrators is estimated to be in the millions, as were dug up by an excavator. A hydro pole is also damaged, cutting off the power to a number of residents.
I think it was about just under 1,000 residents who lost power. Or maybe somewhere between a couple hundred. I don't even know. So not enough people, right? Like it's just this is why. Dare I call it terrorism? Because I think that's exactly what it is. In my own opinion.
This all stems from the United Nations Sustainable Development, which says that they can renege on any freaking agreement that they have. So you have people there that are part of that area that are elected that signed on to something, and then all it takes is one person that says, no, I don't agree. And the United Nations has allowed them to have a claim back to that land regardless of anything that's signed. Now it's through soft law, but when all your soft law is held up by politicians, then it's no longer soft law. When it goes through the Congress and it goes through your house and everything else, like it's no longer the case. So on that topic, it's a good time to pitch this. We will be sitting down next Thursday. We're going from 3 days a week to 2 days a week, and then I'm gonna be ramping up some more videos that are kind of related to the articles for people that aren't really readers. But we'll be sitting down with Mark Friesen, the Grizzly Patriot, next week Thursday at 8:30 p.m. to talk the UN Sustainable Development Agenda, its effects on going forward in globalism. And then Monday next week, we actually have Colton Waller, former PPC candidate, I believe in Waterloo. He's working on a new blog called Altruism. We'll be sitting down with him and talking about some of his work in the past, including his article in Medium on the gold standard. So
I had one more video and relates to that. It's just like 8 seconds, but this is kind of the idea of what this looks like on the road closure.
Jeez. Yeah, there's no point in playing that. It's so laggy. All right, but yeah, so right on its side there.
Right? Crushed.
Like, unbelievable.
They've dug up the roads and it's millions. Sit in the million.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go into a new not new, but Hamilton implemented a audit program to basically check on Hamilton employees for fraud and waste complaints. And this year last year they had 12 complaints. And this year they had 87 or 85 rather. So here we go.
Complaints regarding what?
I'm in the middle of the
So Hamilton audit reports all-time fraud high.
Reports of internal fraud and mismanagement. 5 employees have been fired and more than $200,000 public dollars have been confirmed missing. City councilors say the program is a resounding success. Lisa Hefner has the latest.
85 complaints about fraud or wasteful spending at the City of Hamilton were recorded when a hotline was set up for the purpose. The previous record was 12 complaints.
It's been a year of a quite high volume, actually more than I expected. When you first launch the hotline, the numbers typically take, what I've observed, they typically take a couple of years to reach some kind of peak.
Once audit staff determine a complaint has merit, it is investigated. Last year, the city confirmed at least $202,000 lost to fraud or mismanagement. 5 people were fired after investigations, including a manager who got free leadership coaching from a company while he was responsible for hiring and approving payments to the same company for the city. An employee responsible for processing cash who was found to have stolen $21,000. That case was one of 2 referred to police. And an employee who was paid both long-term disability benefits and a full salary for more than a year. Other findings led to discipline, including an employee who canceled almost $600 in parking tickets for themselves and their partner. And in another case, suspected cash thefts led to the discovery that a city safe was not properly monitored, and its combination was written on a sticky note nearby. And sometimes city managers used the hotline. In one case, to report potentially valuable inventory was being thrown away. $5,000 worth of copper wire was found in a dumpster at a public works location. The hotline costs the city $12,500 a year.
It seems to be a tremendous success in terms of the investment that we've made and what we found as a result. It's certainly hard to swallow in terms of seeing some of these things, but it happens in every organization, and I'm glad that we're able to demonstrate that we're getting to the bottom of these issues.
After 1 year of a 3-year pilot project, Councillor Chad Collins already wants to make the fraud and waste hotline permanent.
I would hope so. You'd want to make it permanent. You catch 87 different cases and over $200,000 missing. Like, Colton is, yes, he's a politician for the PPC. He's a young man. I believe under the age of 25, 26. Yeah, there you go. He ran for PPC in Kitchener-Waterloo. He is a very nice man.
Oh,
he's a very
in my writing, wasn't he?
Yes. He's a very sharp young man. He's written for medium.com on the Gold Standard. We're happy to have him on and get a fresh perspective from somebody who's been on the ground trying to make a difference. So, yeah, I'm excited for that one. But are you associated with Diverge? All right. That is not the case, but we're just going to wait here a minute. We're waiting a minute because my daughter is still making noise upstairs, still crying. So, that being said, look who's making an appearance again. So she's back here. We're going to go into, let's go into facial recognition on babies here. Can we switch over? Okay. So this is one online library.yle. It goes through a bunch of research on facial development in infants specifically, but I kind of just, okay, so before we go in here, let me give a little spiel. Can we go back? Give my face. So before we go into this here, my thought process on racism and people being uncomfortable with different cultures has kind of always been, if you're not exposed to something, then you're going to be uncomfortable with it. And I kind of got this confirmed today with babies. Babies are actually kind of uncomfortable with people of different cultures until they've been exposed to them enough times. And then they get comfortable with the faces, but otherwise they're not as comfortable. So we go into the study here.
That's a good way to put it, actually.
It's like exactly it, right? Like you're more comfortable with the things you're familiar with. Isn't that true for everyone? So why would it be different for a baby? Now, when we go to the infant babe, and it's still the same scenario as adults, I think it's a pretty good conclusion that we're on the right track here. All right. As already mentioned, 3-month-old infants, but not newborns, show a preference for faces of their own race over other races. A few studies suggested the existence of an own race theory advantage at approximately 3 months of age. It's important to note that their facial recognition is still developing, and they basically, it's like 2-3 months of age that they actually start to distinguish between the race and be more comfortable with the things they've been surrounded with. Now, the findings from these studies are consistent with findings from preferential looking studies that report an attentional bias toward own race faces around this age. And with this finding that 3 to 4 month old infants show discrimination advantages for faces of the same gender as the main caretaker. So if your main caretaker is male, then the baby will prefer male faces. Now, if it's female, it will be female preferred faces. However, several studies have failed to find an own race face recognition at approximately 3 months. Kelly Quinn et al. Examined the discrimination of African faces, Middle Eastern faces, and Chinese faces, in addition to Caucasian faces by Caucasian infants aged 3, 6, and 9 months in the UK. They reported that the 3-month-old infants discriminated between faces of all ethnic groups tested, while the 6-month-old infants showed a discrimination only between the Chinese and Caucasian faces, and the 9-month-old infants discriminated between the Caucasian faces. The same facial image set was used to test Chinese infants in China by Kelly et al. Similar to the Caucasian infants in the study, Quinn et al., the 3-month-old Chinese infants discriminated between faces for all the ethnic groups tested. In contrast, 6 and 9-month-old Chinese infants discriminated only between Chinese faces. So as they got on later on, the discrimination goes down less as they're introduced to more. But basically early on, it's part of your nature. We want to discriminate against what we don't know, what we're not familiar with, and what we're unsure of. Now, the way to solve that is, again, to look at people as individuals, look at their character, their integrity, and you spend time with people that are different than you. And the more you do that, the more comfortable you come with different cultures. Now, I say that as somebody who spent almost an entire month in Peru with people that spoke no English, but I would say that I love those people like brothers and sisters. I hope they say the same for me. And that being said, like, there was a language barrier and everything else, but you learn that people care for you, and that's what matters. You know, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Experience that on a daily basis at work. You know, I've been working with these Indian guys for a few 2-3 months now, and you know, we have our own inside jokes now, and they get nicknames for me.
It takes time, and
call me Bodu, but it's fun.
It takes time, and everybody's afraid to, like, culturally we say things we didn't mean to say. Like, in order to, you know, you need to be okay. It needs to be a comfortable environment where you can say the wrong thing by accident. And the truth of the matter is, you're going to say the wrong thing by accident because we come from different cultures, backgrounds, beliefs, and everything else. So you need to be aware of that and have a little bit more grace with people and try to understand that, I think. Now, going into something back here, I'm going to pop into a little prelude into the Sustainable Development Agenda that we're going to be doing with Mark Friesen next week. This is a HuffPost summary. Simply put, the Sustainable Development is the UN Agenda's 21 program for the global control and restriction of your daily life, including your private property, individual rights, and civil liberties, all in the apparent name of the environment and so-called social justice. This was written years ago, by the way. I think this is a pretty old write-up, but still stands. Sustainable Development is the UN Agenda's 21 program for the global control and restriction over your daily life, including your private property, individual rights, and civil liberties. Because Agenda 21 represented soft law and not an actual binding treaty, i.e. hard law, did not require the ratification of the U.S. Senate approval for Congress. It also didn't require any approval in our House here. Instead, it was implemented the following year by Bill Clinton. Over the next few years, the federal government established bureaus which published task force reports and further advanced Sustainable Development Agenda 21. In 1998, the President's Council on Sustainable Development condensed its reports into a book entitled Sustainable America, America's Environment, Economy, and Society in the 21st Century. Okay. So, history of sustainable development. Quick overview. 1987, conceived by the Brundtland Commission, chaired by Gro Harlem Brundtland, the Vice President of the World Socialist Party. Can't make that up. Brought to the global forefront by the Secretary General of the UN, Earth Summit, Marie Strong, a staunch reporter and current resident of Communist China. 1992. 1992, the Earth Summit resulted in Agenda 21, the UN's 1,000-page report and strategy for sustainable development. In 92, Agenda 21 is signed at the Earth Summit by 178 world leaders, including President George H.W. Bush. 93, President Bill Clinton signs Executive Order 12852, which established the President's Council on Sustainable Development. Little by little, freedom stripped away. Little by little, freedom stripped away. President Barack Obama in 2011 signed Order 13575, which established the White House Rule Council. So a little bit, how does this affect me? They go through it. This book, effective execution of Agenda 21 will require profound reorientation of all human society, unlike anything the world has ever experienced. A major shift in the priorities of both governments and individuals as unprecedented redeployment of human and financial resources. This shift will demand that a concern for the environmental consequences of every human action be integrated into individual and collective decision-making at every level. Agenda 21 leaves no stone unturned, no person outside of its reach. In order to accomplish this so-called sustainable development agenda and to make it into a so-called steward of the environment, Agenda 21 seeks to control you and your life. Once implemented, Agenda 21 will affect you in the following ways. Now, keep in mind, this is old. Let's see what's relevant now. Eliminating your right to private ownership, property rights. We already have that erosion happening. We just mentioned the land disputes after already signed deals. If you're in a special area, they deem it environmentally like you can't be there because there's some environmental reason. They can kick you right off your land. Forbidding you from entering woodland and wetland areas. You buy a woodland or a wetland. Oh, hey, no, we found some creature on this that belongs. It makes it a woodland. We know you bought it, but you can't actually do anything with that land now. You can't build a house there. Sorry, everyone. Punishing you with higher prices at the store. Restricting your civil liberties. So, I mean, we've seen a massive restriction of civil liberties during the COVID era. Sorry. Someone's mad.
I should have been the reaction when you had the
Yeah. Okay. All right. Restricting the number of children you have. Speaking of children. Yeah. They want to be able to restrict the number of children you have. Restricting the amount of trash and water you can dispose of. Restricting the amount of water you can use. Telling you how much you can harvest on your farm or land. Forcing you to participate in community projects. Diminishing your individual rights in favor of community rights. And communitarism. So it goes into communitarism is founded upon the belief that dictatorship or supremacy of the community. Meaning, we have such a good reason to do these things that we should do it, regardless of the cost to civil liberties. I'm going to keep going through this, unfortunately, Project, because she's up there with the baby right now. It's already
can I just interject really quick?
Yeah, perfect. Yep.
There was, I think I read something the other day or saw a headline of something regarding, I think it was Ontario's recycling program. They were going to something, and I'll have to find it, but I think it was something in the terms of like finding people or limiting the amount of recycling people could.
The new Blue Bin program, they're
they're
offshooting the cost onto the producer. So basically they're paying what, upfront or something like that, because if they have a certain type of packaging, they got to pay more. But here's really what that means is all they're going to do is this new Blue Box program is they're off putting the cost onto the consumer now, because they're making them, if you have bulky packaging or anything else like that, well, certain things you can't get away from. What do you think that consumer is going to do, or that producer is going to do of that product? They're passing the product cost on to you. So if they say this new tax is going to cost them 15, 20%, they're going to pass as much of that cost off to you if they don't think it will affect their sales. So if they can get away with all 20% going on to the cost, or 10%, or whatever the number is, they're going to do that. But ultimately, it will mean that the consumer will have to pay more.
There are other provinces who do recycling programs with bottles and cans.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
You get paid to bring back your cans and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's more of an incentive program rather than a disincentive. The other way, they're talking about adding the cost to consumers that would then have to pony up that cost, and it's not really the good way to go about it. You need to dangle the carrot and not beat with the stick if you want change. Are you okay to go to an article? Okay. So sorry, background here. We're going to talk about our flu article for Australia today. If you got any Aussie friends, share it out. Where did the flu go? We've done Canada, we've done America, and now we did Australia. Now, Australia presented unique challenges simply because of the style of the report. 2018, 2019, and 2020 all had different formats that they had the reports in. So comparing the years, here's what we found. Basically, in 2020, they did testing for influenza, and they also do their testing for COVID. But the year before, in 2019, they do their test for positive for influenza, and then they do diagnosed influenza. But the year before that, it's only tested influenza. So this is where it got all convoluted. But needless to say, it's a great little article. If you go down to our compare, we'll basically break down each spot for you. So week 15. As an example, in week 15, the comparison from 2019 to 2020, 61 COVID tests were performed for this week in 2020, 0 positives. Only 7 individuals, however, were tested for influenza in 2020, but 2 came back positive. The previous year shows that there were 49 cases of influenza for the same time period. This means there was 47 less cases of influenza in 2020 compared to 2019, 49 versus 2. And I bring up that the numbers shouldn't be fluctuating that much. Let's go down to week 16, compare. This is another one. 2019, 32 individuals who reported cough and fever were either diagnosed or tested to have influenza. This means that 6.8% of those surveyed who had cough and fever were diagnosed with influenza. In 2020, however, only 7 individuals with cough and fever were tested for influenza, and 4 were positive. For contrast, 48 people were tested for COVID in this same time period in 2020, and 0 positives returned. This means that in 2020, COVID was tested for 685.71% more than for influenza in this week, yet influenza yielded more positive results for the same time period, 4 versus 0. Am I breaking down this whole sham that is the flu numbers yet? Like multiple countries now? Let's go. Week 17, compare. 473.33% more testing for COVID in 2020 than influenza. However, the flu numbers are still higher than the COVID numbers in the same week. 8 positive flu in 2019 versus 1 positive COVID test in 2020. In 2020, only 7 people were sent off for influenza testing during week 17, and they yielded 4 positive compared to 1 COVID test being positive. This is in spite the fact that 71 individuals were tested for COVID compared to a meager 7 tested for the flu. So I beg the question here, why continue at this point testing for COVID at such a high rate when testing for influenza in much smaller sample size continue to overshadow the COVID numbers as a percentage in a whole? Could it be fear of the novel virus? This doesn't explain why we see the decrease in testing, but or why they didn't include diagnosed influenza numbers anymore. So they did this diagnosed influenza, meaning practically, can we go back to our screen here? Meaning that diagnosed influenza, it's like you had all the symptoms and then you were diagnosed even without a lab test. That's what I took it to mean. Now, they stopped doing that in 2020. And the issue with that is when you have so many overlapping symptoms, you have to ask the question, were they diagnosing some of those cases that should have been flu as COVID? And where do they all go? It's the same thing again and again. We've been finding this pattern. Australia, Canada, America. I can't say it enough. Like every time we go down the path of stats, it's disgusting. When we went down the UK path, they literally have an application form to access the remainder of their data, which gives you access to the raw data. And then you click on the application form and it's a broken link. Absolutely unbelievable. This stuff keeps on happening, but it just does. And nobody's batting an eye. So if we can help share this out, because ultimately the Canadian flu one's getting pretty good traction. The American one's not really getting that much. So if you got American friends in Australia, so if we can start popping these around and you can get 5,000 or 10,000 views on each one of these articles, like our Canadian one has done extremely well, then you can actually start having a chance to seed information in people around the world that maybe this starts to wake people up. Like seriously, where did the flu number? We were talking about the Netherlands last night. There were 6,000 missing flu deaths, right? And then I said, well, how many people died for COVID? And it was like 800 difference. And then you factor in the lockdowns on top of that. And it's potential. There was potential that the government policies actually killed the excess. And it could have been an up year and stuff like that too. But it's, again, go through our flu articles. I'm going to be doing a book soon where I'm combining all those in, and hopefully it's something that people are interested in. We'll do a little one like that, get all the graphs, charts, data in there. But the more I look into this, every country hides their data differently. That's the first part. Every country has a different measuring system or a different way they implement the numbers. It should be pretty universal. And then they all hide it within their website. So you'll click a link, and then you got to click another link, and then another link, and you got to really know what you're looking for. And you mentioned this when you did Netherlands. You're like, I can't believe how hard it is to find this stuff. I said, that's nothing. I'm so frustrated at it. At this point, please just share those articles out. I've spent so much work getting those stats out. And so I really think it's one of those things. It's kind of a silver bullet. I know a lot of people, Jaswal mentioned, kind of go, well, the flu went away because of all the good hand washing and everything else. And it's like, yeah, no, no. Like, people will say the craziest thing, but the reality is, like, you don't lose 6,000 deaths.
Scrub-a-dub-dub. If that's the case,
hey, we just got to do a little data cleaning initiative. But
let me just spray some of this vodka smelling hand sanitizer on my hands.
Oh man, it's the flu article for me. Like, every time I went into those datas, the one it ticked me off with the Australia flu data, because 2018, like, it starts at week 17 for 2018. You go to 2019, it starts at week 15. You go to 2020, it starts at week 13. It's like, you don't even have a straight comparison across 3 years. And then 2018 is a completely different layout format to present the information than 2019. 2019 uses a different metric of diagnosed influenza and tested influenza. And then 2020 just used tested. And then they decreased the testing from like 20, 30 a week, and then the diagnosed to like 5 or 6. And then even they're testing like 60, 70 people for COVID a week and like 6 or 7 people for the flu. And yet you're still getting more positives for the flu. Are you freaking kidding me? Oh, shut everything down, COVID. And Dan Andrews is tagged in that Australia post. Hey, Vic, what are you doing? Like, seriously. You gave up all your rights on a false pretense. Look at your own data that I've compiled in one central location for you, and please share it. That's all I got to say on that. You got some more stuff for us?
You choose, okay? Choose Zellers, small business closures, Walmart fires, or Borat.
You can go Borat right now.
No, let's do Borat.
Very nice.
Let me just...
Is that his black face?
Yeah, yes. Oh, very nice.
No, it's not.
All right, so Post Millennial shared this out today as the first publication I saw it come from. The Toronto Sun did something on it as well. So the new Borat movie is called I think it's Borat Subsequent Movie.
Okay.
And yeah, for what it's supposed to sound funny, I guess, in his accent. But so there's a scene in it where they talk about Barack Obama, and then they kind of go on, this is what African leaders could be coming to power. But I'll just show the clip because I'm really not good at paraphrasing these. Oh wait, I need to do this whole thing again.
Oh, buddy.
I don't have the audio.
Oh, you kill me. All right.
It's better now than again. Maybe. All right,
sure?
Let's do it.
Is he sharing screen?
Hey, he's trying to share his screen.
I didn't have it up on the screen.
We're good.
There you go.
He explained that while I was in Gulag, USNA was ruined by an evil man who stood against all American values. His name, Barack Obama. This led to other Africans becoming political leaders. But then a miracle occurred. A magnificent new premier named Donald Trump rose to power and made America great again. He also became buddies with tough guy leaders across the world. Putin, Kim Jong-un, Bolsonaro, and Kenneth West.
I don't think he likes him. What do you think?
What I'm realizing more and more with this, like, you kind of, I don't really realize a lot of these things with TV. We've talked about this before. but like how much this whole movie is more of a political thing.
So
right before an election too. Like, is that not election interference? Like, what is that?
No, because it's entertainment. But yeah, this is the issue: is that people don't think entertainment's being used to shape their views in any way, shape, or form. If you go watch the Project Veritas release about Google engineers constantly putting Biden ads instead of Trump ads, psychology says that if you see somebody enough times, that you'll begin to like them, and you don't really have any good reason for it. It's just psychology says this is something that happens. So now you're constantly putting an idea in somebody's head, they're gonna like it more and more. It's like the people say, "Oh, I don't like countries." Like, you will if you listen to it enough times.
I feel like when it comes to politics, though, I feel like that's only applicable to like really, really stupid people.
No,
like,
not at all. Not at all. Like, Roger, do you know how susceptible you are?
Politics and just like go, I like this guy, I don't like this guy.
No, you don't even realize it. Okay, you're scrolling through your Twitter feed, you see 30 ads. 21 of them are pro-Trump, are pro-Biden. You don't think that affects your psyche down here a little bit? Even if you like the guy, now you got this back of your head going, well, yeah, but there's all this shit I got to defend now because you've watched 21 ads. This is literally the psychology they're doing. And by the way, you have all the major platforms, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all of them censoring like this, in this way, this shape, this form, right before the election. Certain things aren't allowed to be said. We won't release this New York Post article that makes Biden look bad because it's unsubstantiated. Well, for an unsubstantiated claim, it's pretty freaking substantiated. So they keep doing these things. They act like they're trying to do the right thing all the time, but the reality is it's just a freaking game they're playing. They put stuff in your head constantly. They show you algorithms. They show you what they want you to see. They give you counter views even. Think about this. Oh, I'm going to give you an opposing view that's really a controlled opposing view that gets you to kind of think what I want you to think. And what I call this is the groove theory, okay? You guys can all take this. This is like my own theory I've kind of developed. But sometimes I believe government has something called, I call it groove theory. Okay, you have somebody's extreme left. You have somebody's extreme right. The government on both sides, if you're globalist, they both want the same thing, same road. It's two flavors of the same side. So what they do is the opposition says something that gets you to go, yeah, they're on my side. Meanwhile, they've never said really anything that's going to be for you. What they've done is they set the groove of the road within a allowable determination for them, something that's comfortable for them. So now you're just going like this and you think you're free and you got opposition, but meanwhile they've set the algorithm for you and how you're thinking in your education system and everything. You go through your entire education system to think a certain way. Do you know what they don't like in our education system? And I dare a teacher to try to say this to my face. They don't like independent free thinkers. You know how I know that? Because I was that independent free thinker. Getting attacked because grade 11 academic English, I got a 53 on an exam because, quote, it wasn't good enough to be my work. Are you freaking kidding me? Oh, no, it wasn't good enough because it wasn't what I thought should have been. Well, no. You said if I can coherently explain my thought process on how I got there, I would get good grades. No. You didn't think the way I thought, so it's wrong. That was academic. Okay? Now you go through a whole system of that your whole entire life, and you think you're a free, independent thinker. You have all these original thoughts. Meanwhile, a lot of the human experience is from history and people and shared experiences passed on. And you really think you have these individual thoughts. Meanwhile, left, right, and they give you this impression. Meanwhile, you're just in the groove of thought that they want you to be in because you're along with the stream. Step out of the stream, look at the stream. What's going on? That's what we need to do.
I watched this PragerU video. This lady, she basically said higher education destroyed me. And
what'd she take?
She taught, I can't actually remember exactly all the details, but she went into about her red pill moment and how her ex-husband red pilled her. I think showing, I can't remember, but yeah, it was an interesting video in general. I'll bring it up on the next live stream, but it was just like kind of an interesting story to go from. She talked about like how the education systems tell you how to think, right? And we've experienced this, and I think you'll know what, like our old coworker. Remember you had that argument at work one time? I won't name this person on the live stream, but like I think that kind of like shows for this. That kind of just tells the story.
Now I
It's
have
kinda
to tell the
tells.
story. I kind
Go
of
for
got
it.
it was somebody who was a very strong new age feminist, and I say new age because if we're talking about equality between a man and a woman, equal opportunity, then sure. But what she said to me is men make more money than women on average. And I said, well, men take more dangerous jobs on average. It's not a straight job comparison for the same amount of time put in. We went through all these details. It's not like they're taking a female working construction general labor for 3 years with the same amount of experience as a man for 3 years and saying, who makes more? Now, there is some of that happens, and a lot of it comes down to your ability to voice yourself. But basically what she said to me is, well, men get paid more than women. And I literally laughed, and I said, that's crazy, because why would I ever hire a man then? You can't have it both ways. If they're greedy business owners, then why would you ever hire a man? If I could hire a woman for less money to do the same job just as well, because we can both agree, and I said this to her, so we can both agree that you can do the job just as good as me, why the hell would you ever hire me? So she didn't like that answer. She goes, well, it's happening. It happened. She said, it happened to my mom. I said, well, did your mom argue for a raise? She said, well, somebody got a raise over her who has the same amount of time in as her. I said, well, did she go in and kind of pitch why she deserved the raise too? She goes, no. I said, well, again, maybe we can have a conversation about the workplace needs to be more open to people that aren't as aggressive and a little more shy and enhancing them and lifting them up because they have a good place. They can offer a lot too. But in general, the human experience is that the little more aggressive, a little more vocal rise to the top. So that being said, you should understand that a little bit, but we should also, as a society, understand there's people not like that and they have a lot to say in a value and try. So it's a balance. But I just laughed at this fact. Well, men make more money. It was like literally I knew what she was going to say before she even said it because it was straight out of a feminist textbook from like humanitarians. It's like, oh, men don't make as much as women and it's not fair at all. I was like, man, I'm just saying, if I was a business owner and I could hire a woman for 30 cents less on the dollar, I would never hire a man. Never. So if that's a thing that you think's happening, just put that logical question in there. Now, the whole wage comparison, here's another question to ask for people on that. Does it compare straight wage to straight experience? No. Do men do more dangerous jobs like that get hazard pay and often work more overtime and things like this that women won't do because of now there's the family gap. There's a legitimate thing like a family can take that career out a little bit, but that shouldn't be something that happens. But this is the conversation. But it's just unbelievable to me that she blatantly just told me, no, women don't make as much. It's like, nah, if that was the case, there would be every business would be looking to hire women. Unless they were sexist. Because I'll tell you this, business owners like money. Yeah, everybody likes to churn a profit. I'm done.
Just really interesting, that whole thing.
I still can't believe how upset she was at me. What did I say? I walked off. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure
I was just sitting there like really confused on how that even started.
What's funny was there was two other females there nodding in agreement with me. So there's two girls that worked with me on the bench. Like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I agree. And then she was really upset.
The country hicks, you know. They're okay with you.
Well, you grew up in the country.
Better thinkers, you know.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Just a little more used to being independent. On that theory of groove theory, we talk about education setting the path for people. I'm going to find a survey, but I remember years ago finding a survey. About 80 to 90% of all teachers in secondary institutions lean left, like they're registered liberal or Democratic voters. That being said, so if 90% of your viewpoint in secondary education that's supposed to expand your mind to new opposing viewpoints is left-leaning, do you really think you're getting, and this is what I said to her too, I said, do you really think you have a truly an understanding of the world from all viewpoints? She goes, oh, absolutely, I had to do all this research. And I said, no, you had a liberal teacher who told you to go do this research. She pointed you down a path and didn't talk about all the other stuff I just presented. And now you're so convinced because you've done all the hard work, 20, 30 hours of research, these big long papers, and you thought you were leading yourself here. She guided you down a path. Now you're angry because I said, no, this is not all there is to it. In fact, you're wrong. And she doesn't want to be wrong because she put a lot of hard work into it. I know she did. She's a good student, hard worker. So for somebody to stop, yeah, look at Lindsay Shepherd. Yeah, Lindsay Shepherd kind of got disillusioned with the education system because she is all about, isn't university a place of higher education where we can have different opinions? Isn't this a place for debate? She showed a freaking video of Jordan Peterson, introduced it neutrally. And because she introduced it neutrally, she got reprimanded. And she had the intelligence that before she walked into that meeting, she goes, something ain't right, puts on the recorder and recorded it. And we got to understand the depth of depravity coming out of these universities because of Miss Lindsay Shepherd. So thank you to that.
Well, I know classmates that have felt it in my classes.
How do you mean?
Thank God I have. Well, like we talked about, the one class I remember vividly was opinions class. We talk about different news stories and different angles you could take on a story. So he was, I don't know, some liberal chick in my class or whoever the hell was pitching it. Gave all her view, like all her angles, and then the one guy in my class one of two other people in my class in my class that I could really tell were like true, more so conservative people, spoke up, and he's like, "What about?" I think it was regarding sports and transgender participants in sports. And so he said, do you think it's okay that a man who turns into a woman is able to win?
Okay, so you brought up the transgender athlete argument?
Mm-hmm. And then everyone was like getting kind of with him. But like, I'm glad my professor allowed these debates in class. Whether or not she agreed with them.
This is the thing, though, is most teachers aren't even allowing those discussions anymore. They're supposed to create a safe learning environment for all perspectives, and they really only create it for one set of perspectives. That's what's happening all over. And if we're going to talk, I mean, on that's a serious conversation. You can do, libertarian, right? Libertarian principles do no harm. Okay, you can do what you want as long as it doesn't hurt other people. That's kind of, if you're going to, you can transition to whatever gender you want to be, but the moment you say I want to fight men, or I want to fight women, Megan, or what was her name, Joe Rogan talked about her on his podcast for a while. She was fighting women. She was a man, and men have much more testosterone than women, period. Facts. Sorry. And she wasn't talented, but was literally just manhandling these other women. And she actually, I think, crushed one woman's skull. Okay? And then she ran into a real fighter and got the shit kicked out of her. And that was it. Then it was done. And then she quit. She wasn't a fighter. You can do whatever you want, but to say that you get the same rights, like, no. Like, easy. Maybe we need to talk about having another athlete area where transgender athletes can compete against other transgender athletes. But do you really think it's fair to say that the man that's transitioning to be a woman that has 20 times the testosterone as that female, oh, hey, no problem. You can run in the 100-meter dash with all those women that are blood, sweat, tears, worked their rear end off to get where they're at. And now you have an unfair physical advantage. And because you feel you belong to that, we're supposed to overlook the physical advantage. You can feel how you want to feel. You can be who you want to be, and we'll support you. It doesn't matter. But you can't have unfair advantages physically over other athletes. Sports is supposed to be a very fair comparison of competing athletes on at least a similar plane and level. That's why we have weight classes and divisions and all sorts of rules and regulations. If you're going to allow trans, you also need to allow performance enhancing. I am all for performance enhancing drug league. For the record, I want to see the 100-meter dash. There's a comedian who had this joke. This is not mine. But I want to see the 100-meter dash with people so roided up that they can only do it once. They're just there in the freaking blocks, like foaming at the teeth. Just out of the gate. Snapping legs like the little kid only run it once. I want to see that. I'd pay for that. Cyber enhancement. Oh, this is another one. Okay. Exoskeletons coming to the Olympics. Can you imagine? Best like exoskeleton wins. We have like each country design their own exoskeleton, send in the nerdiest athlete they have, and then just compete. Sports is going to be crazy. Oh man, I'm all about
exoskeletons like those, like the one in Call of Duty.
Yeah. Oh, you talk about
Suits or
what is
whatever.
that called? Preemptive programming, right? Remember when it came out and I said, "Oh, it's so futuristic, like Call of Duty and the exosuits," and then it's like literally within like 6 months or a year of the release of the game, so another video was released from the U.S. military that showed it had been a technology for a long time, and I was like, "Oh, and it kind of reminded me when I was doing coding and web development. We used to talk about that, how all the technologies that were coming out into the public were really just old military technologies that are they're about 5, 10, 15 years behind. And so they slowly release these things to the public as it gets more comfortable for them and they get ahead of the game so they have the next step up. So we used to talk about that all the time in class and how they put things out and kind of condition you to get ready for them. So I thought of the exosuit and that. And now they're talking about using it for like everyday workers. Have you seen some of those videos? People are making like their own YouTube videos, making their own exosuits and stuff now.
Oh, like Mark Rober type people?
I don't even know, well, I guess you would say Mark Rober type people. That's kind of a super big compliment if they're not as intelligent. Like former NASA.
Well, I say that because like we had like the Kitchener-Waterloo resident who made his own lightsaber.
That did not look like a lightsaber. That looked like a straight up fire ball of what he did.
It was like what, propane?
It was
or something like that. Like it's some sort of gas, flammable gas that he had like ignite up a tube.
He had like a filament. It was like this for the sword, and then it shot up gas. I don't know what he was using, but it looked so hot. It was just glowing, and you could see like he touched something with it, and it's just like a welding shield, plasma torch. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe I'll find it. Plasma torch.
He made up a bunch of different models. It was on Kitchener Today.
On Kitchener Today.
It's like a publication.
No, I'm not gonna be able to find them. But well, that's pretty much good for tonight. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to wrap it up just because we got a fussy baby who doesn't really want to go down. He's just looking at me. But I want to announce we're gonna go to Monday, Thursday, 8:30 p.m. next week. Monday next week we have Colton Waller, the PPC. He's written for Medium.com about the gold standard. He's also developed his own blog called, I believe, Altruism. I got to get the exact name of the blog. Thursday, we're going to have Grizzly Patriot, Mark Friesen on talking UN Sustainable Development Agenda and globalism. And we're just going into those 2 days a week. I want to be better prepared. I want to be able to bring a lot more in-depth documents the way I do. I want to be able to keep on that. And then I'm going to be doing more videos, like I said, of my articles, like for the Australian flu. And we're going to release those type of videos where I'm going to report it as news, like a news anchor would, simply because a lot of people don't want to read. So hopefully we hit a different audience with that, and we'll go from there. To everybody who tuned in tonight, we really appreciate it.
Before we go,
yeah,
it was propane gas burning at around 4,000 degrees to create a retractable plasma beam.
Touch it. 4,000 degrees. Jeez. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thanks, James, Glenn, Linda, Jaswal, everybody who tuned in tonight. We're so thankful to have you back. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. This is Greg Staley from Diverge Media signing off.
I'm Roger Visser. Have a good night, everybody.
Till next time.